Looking towards the Melbourne to Osaka double-handed event for 2018, today we chat with the Crew of Turbulence, an entry in the 2013 event. Eric Marsh and Paul Nielsen are both members of the Hobsons Bay Club in Melbourne, and with the 2013 race behind them, they have some exciting news about their entry in the 2018 race. We start by asking each of them about their previous boating experience.
Look, I've had about 22 years of sailing experience. I started sailing at a small lake back at Ballarat. So I spent a number of years sailing dinghies, sabres, mosquito catamarans. In 2006 I joined Hobsons Bay Yacht Club, and we went on to purchase our own keelboat. It was our first keelboat that we campaigned for a number of years out of the club here. Went on to offshore racing, local coastal races, a few Melbourne to Hobarts. Then in 2010 we did the Melbourne to Vanuatu race, which was a pretty exciting long distance race. And then in 2012 we bought Turbulence off a previous Hobsons Bay member, and Paul and I campaigned in the 2013 Melbourne to Osaka race.
Paul, how about you?
Started off with the family. Dad had a yacht, so I got dragged into it with him as a kid. And yeah, done it for the last 20 years, keelboats, no dinghy sailing. Bought a Diamond in my 20s, and went from the Diamond to the S80 and into the keelboat, so that's about it.
Tell us a little bit about this boat that we're on at the moment, Eric, Turbulence,
Yes. Okay.
in terms of just style, age of boat, condition when you purchased it, and some of those things.
Okay, well, Turbulence is a 35-year-old boat now. It was the first Adams 11.9 to be built. Back in its day, fairly radical design. It competed in numerous Sydney to Hobart races. Then went down to Tasmania. It was called Thumbs Up, and campaigned in Tasmania for some time. You can go on and on forever with the boat because of its age, but briefly she then went to Melbourne and was named Turbo. It campaigned a couple of owners in Melbourne around Port Phillip Bay. Billy Fiore campaigned it out of our club, and he went to Osaka in 2003 with this vessel. Did very well with it. We then purchased it in 2012 and did a full upgrade on it before the 2013 Osaka, which is the one Paul and I campaigned in. So yeah, she's been there for a lot of history.
Okay, Eric, just at this stage, can we just have a look at this boat, Turbulence, and could you just take us through some of the things that you did to prepare Turbulence for the 2013 Melbourne to Osaka?
Well, we can look at things like power management, really important part of the vessel. Keeping your battery power up, you need to consider that with a two-handed vessel, especially long distance racing. We did things like put larger solar panels on the stern of the boat, larger alternator on the motor. We had a wind generator fitted to the vessel, which also improved the amps into the battery system. You can look at things like your auto helm. It's basically your second buddy. You need a really good one. There are times there when your mate's down below sleeping, you need, and if you wish to have a little bit of time on your own, you can't helm all the time. So having a strong, well set up auto helm is really important. We can go on to things like sail management. Paul and I, we looked at things like hanks on head sails versus twin foils that can jam quickly. socks over your spinners. You need to look at things like how are we going to retrieve our spinners and launch them efficiently because you're short-handed. Reefing your mainsail, whether you're going to use single line reefing back at your cockpit. That's the ideal, but basically you need to be able to do these things on your own because you are really single-handed sailing. There's many things through the vessel that basically you're trying to simplify, how you operate this boat. Like things like your winches. You can go on and on, but basically that's how we focused on setting up the boat. Yeah.
So Eric, even though as a previous owner this was Turbo, and it had already done a Melbourne to Osaka, and he'd worked on it,
yes,
there were things that you still needed to do to set it up for you and Paul.
Yes, well the previous owner put a lot of effort into the vessel prior to 2003. We were very fortunate in that regard. It had watertight bulkheads in the vessel and crash bulkheads in the bow, which are all important things for the race. They're part of the safety category. We basically went back over the boat from tip to toe, I suppose you call it, and just upgraded the vessel and then improved it where we could.
Eric and Paul, that's given us an idea of how you've set up Turbulence, but actually fairly soon you're going to pick up a new boat.
Yeah, we're very excited. We've just purchased a Beneteau First 40. It's campaigned extensively in Brisbane and had a lot of success in local coastal offshore races. We're very excited to bring it down. We'll be going to bring it down the coast, and then we'll spend the next 2 years campaigning the vessel here and setting her up for the next Melbourne Osaka race.
Eric, just briefly, what's the point of difference between the boat that we're on at the moment, Turbulence, and this new one? What are you looking for in this new one?
Okay, we originally, when we bought Turbulence for the previous Osaka race, we basically looked at a boat for reaching and running. The race is basically a reaching and running race. This vessel is very well suited to that. It's a great ocean boat. But we found in the previous race we would have liked a more all-round boat for the lighter breezes, which we found this vessel wasn't quite as efficient in that area. So that's the reason we've decided to go for a more all-round vessel for those sort of conditions.
Paul, we're going to bring you in at the moment, just looking back at that 2013 race and just wondering just a couple of the memorable things for you as crew on that 2013 event.
Oh, the most memorable would probably be Eric's encounter with the shark. One night, one evening, Eric, every couple of days we go for a swim in the water. I wouldn't do it for the fear of sharks, etc. I remember being on the phone to my young fella, the set phone, and hearing Eric screaming, and come out to have a look, and there's a big shark headbutting the rudder, and Eric was as white as a ghost. So they went back in the water after that, Eric.
No, that's for sure.
Certainly a memorable moment. And certainly the getting to Osaka and the people there were just unbelievable. The welcome that we got I've done a lot of ocean race and the welcome you get from the people of Osaka is probably the most memorable for me experience of the whole race.
Paul, too, you're reasonably famous, I think, for emailing during the 2013 race that you were looking forward to the next one. What makes a person do the race again for you and Eric?
Well, we were promised a reach and run race. Bill and Kim assured us that it was going to be reaching and running the whole way there. Well, we put that myth away because we found every hole, I think, from here to Japan, and not a hell of a lot of reaching or running for us. We thought maybe this one around we'll get our conditions and that'll suit the boat. But yeah.
you've obviously got on well in that last event because you're going to have another go at it. What's the chemistry about choosing your partner in this sort of event? What's worked for you guys?
Well, look, I think, Paul and I, we're great mates. We've campaigned a lot of sailing together prior to the race, and I think the key to the success of your racing in these two-handed long distance events is knowing the person, knowing their weaknesses and strengths, and sort of building on that. That's why we want to go back to Osaka. We just enjoyed it so much. Just being at sea and enjoying the moment.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And Paul, your crew, Eric's the owner and skipper. From your perspective, what works for you as crew in terms of the chemistry of sailing together?
Oh, I think Eric touched on it. We are good mates. We've sailed a lot together. Enjoy each other's company. Besides tasting music and a couple of things like that, we're similar. We're both competitive, and we get along well.
What were some of the most challenging sailing moments on the ocean race?
For us on Turbo, I think that the light conditions were very tough for us. We went for an AMS rating and we didn't carry a number one or bigger head sails or bigger kites. And I think we really suffered through that. And so that was very frustrating.
Yes, the start was very challenging initially. We got pretty much smashed at the start of the race in the early moments. We're seeing 50 knots heading up towards Gabo Island. That took its toll on myself initially. I copped a bit of seasickness in those early moments, and Paul took a fair bit of the load over that time. So then we regrouped and headed into these lighter conditions up the coast, which Paul has basically touched on that, so very challenging. And then coming into Osaka, you get all sorts of conditions. Once again, we were welcomed to Japan by very heavy conditions and lots of ships coming into Osaka harbour. You've got hundreds and hundreds of ships that you have to dodge at night, and in heavy seas it can be quite challenging. And then there's the currents also, the Kirishima current going up the coast of Japan. It was playing games of us in the end. We thought we were never going to get to Osaka at one stage there. It was basically taking us north. So that was pretty challenging also.
Guys, thanks for your time and best wishes for the 2018 event and all the preparations between now and then. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.